I have had my sex reassignment surgery performed by Chet a half year ago in Thailand, and dilations have always been difficult. Having experienced a number of post-operative complications like wounds separating, plenty of granulation, and what I can only suppose is scarring that further tightened my canal and opening. I am now left with very nasty external scars as well from secondary incisions healing. I am unable to have intercourse, and the biggest size of dilator that will fit in is the third size since the fourth one basically stops midway. My depression is through the roof, and I don't have any libido anymore since all intimate encounters end up being very uncomfortable and quite painful. I have never been able to be penetrated. I am only able to climax if I touch myself in a very specific point, as the rest of my vulva and vagina is always sore. What I am experiencing is taking away all of the happiness and spontaneity from my current relationship of 4 years. I honestly don't see how I ever thought this would be worth it. I knew of the risks, but I just couldn't help being positive and hoping everything would go as well as it had with my friends, but now I feel like I made the biggest mistake I could. I don't want in any way to demotivate other girls seeking sex reassignment surgery. If genital dysphoria is intense and no major complications arise, I believe this to be one of the most gratifying surgeries possible, but for me it simply didn't work out. Are there other people having similar experiences? I honestly haven't got anyone to share this with in real life.
Anyone who is planning to get sex change surgery, pelvic floor therapy is the most important factor in raising success rate of surgery and easier recovery. Dilation is not simply to keep the canal from closing, but to reduce scar tissue. Please start pelvic floor therapy ASAP. During the healing process, the canal will tighten, and if you don't size up in time, you stretch the skin which is still healing, and thus can stretch scars, making them thick and super noticeable. I went to Min Jun and he wants patients on orange dilator before week 6. Many patients get it sooner, like week 1 to 4 weeks post-sex change surgery. A few patients, like literally less than a dozen, have been sized smaller due to physical limitations.
I went to a pelvic floor therapist for the first time this week. All they've recommended so far is deep breathing and stretching my legs, which I already do. It was a total joke, plus insurance isn't covering any of it. I'm pretty pissed right now.
Pelvic floor therapy is a waste of time and money. I had 4 different women staring at me. Even when I was struggling to get it in, they kept saying, "I'm doing good," and that I don't have to worry about all the dots in. It just left me disappointed and distressed. They're just there to see if you don't hit any bones.
Unfortunately for me, I only started pelvic floor therapy 6 months after surgery, and this is not the best decision. But that's what happened. Now I also suffer from UTI, and this is already the 4th or 6th time this has happened, and also from urinary incontinence. I know it can happen from a weak pelvic floor, so I really recommend it.
I had zero depth and had a lot of pain related to very tight scar tissue. I followed all the guidance from my surgeon, and after 6 months, I was still in constant pain. My surgeon recommended scar massage and pelvic floor physiotherapy, both of which provided some temporary help, but didn't address the root of the issue. After trying these 2 suggestions and following all of my surgeon's directions for another 6 months, she finally agreed to see me for a revision consult. At this consult, my surgeon determined that the only option was to do a revision to remove the scar tissue that is constricted and was causing me pain. It took another year for that revision surgery to be scheduled. Recovery from this revision was slow and painful, but less intense than my original surgery. After about 3 months of recovery, I finally turned a corner, and it was like night and day. One day, I walked up the stairs and realized that it didn't cause me pain in the same way I'd been experiencing for the last nearly 2 years. Since then, I have been able to get off my pain meds and have been doing pelvic floor physiotherapy to recover the strength and endurance that I lost during my long, painful recovery. At this point, I am having the best sex of my life and things are so much better. It took a lot of work and self-advocacy. I had to keep bothering my surgeon to insist that what I was experiencing was not an acceptable result and that it was medically necessary for them to continue to provide me with healthcare. There is a path to healing, and you can get there. Don't give up hope.
I am so happy that you could find the strength to go through the sufferings you described and that at last someone addressed your issues for what they were. Surgeon in Thailand has been very dismissive since I have got back home and hasn't really given any significant advice other than dilate and you'll get there at some point, which obviously wasn't realistic nor true. In my country, I've tried reaching out to one of the most renowned sex change professionals I could find here, who gave me a pelvic exam, and other than agreeing with the fact that the vagina was extremely tight and that the urethra was positioned in an oddly low way, he said he could only suggest to keep dilating in incremental steps, and that surgery to solve the issue would have to be radical and invasive, and he advised me against it. I will seek another expert's opinion. Hopefully I'll find someone who can help me like they did with you. Thank you for your answer.
Chet girl here as well. First 3 months were hell for me, so much granulation, to the point of missing my dilation because of bleeding. Been seeing my doctor twice a week. It did get better after 3 months. My only suggestion is to have a family doctor that really specializes trans healthcare. I'm really lucky with my doctor because she stops all my granulation, and dilation is not painful anymore. She gave me all the support I needed, post-op care. Also, having that family or friends gives you solid support helps me cope. You will get there. Dilation just became muscle memory to me, like cleaning ears. I was bleeding constantly once I got home from Thailand. I could not walk properly for 2 months. I was depressed as I was not getting any sunlight. Since walking was painful, I had to drink painkillers 4 times a day. After 3 months of constant doctor's visit, it all went away. Try your local LGBT center. See if they could help you find a trans specialist family doctor.
I'm pretty much the same. Had sex reassignment surgery 7 months ago, and due to significant complications, it looks like a failed science project, and functionally, it's completely useless, and I'm still always in pain. The worst thing is, I think it's too fucked up to be fixed to an acceptable level. I've talked about this with my surgeon recently, and even he agreed that revision will be hard and to manage my expectations. I've seen so many good results, I've done everything right, and this was my chance to at least be happy with one part of my body. I just can't think about my future anymore. Never been more suicidal and hopeless. I was operated by Dr. Brassard in Montreal. Thankfully, I live in Montreal, so I've been able to see him for follow-ups in person. It did take a while for him to be honest with me, don't know why. I guess he wanted to wait until it had healed past a certain point before coming to a conclusion, or maybe to not make me worry, even thought it did the opposite. Either way, I can't change what happened. My doctor got me started on antidepressants so that I can make it to an eventual revision in a year, but if it fails like I feel it will, I don't think I'll have any other option. I can't to live my life like this. Except for the very rare posts like yours, reading this sub is like digital self-harm now. Crazy how last year it made me so excited. Anyway, I hope it will somehow get better for us. We don't deserve this.
I couldn't relate more to what you say. Life has been shit since I had this surgery in more ways than I could imagine due to the complications. Pain never really left me, and functionally, it's just a mess. Sometimes even peeing can be difficult. At least your surgeon has given you an honest answer. Mine has been insisting everything was fine since day one, even though he's been clearly proven wrong even by other professionals. I wish I could go back in time. Reading all the positive and enthusiastic posts and comments does feel like being punched in the stomach, honestly, and leaves me even more hopeless. I'm now using Reddit less and less, but I had to vent, and so I wrote this. I wish you the very best, and I hope we can both find effective treatment.
Hi, I'm 4 months post-op, not so long time, but from surgery day till now I experience non-stop pain, feeling like super tucked, bleeding 1 to 2 times weekly, hypertrophic scars, keloid scars, excessive skin of vulva. Surgeon already said need a revision 12 months after surgery. Vulva feels sticky and I can't walking normal, super sensitive between folds and any light touch cause very strong pain. I can orgasmic, but it's possible only if I stimulate vulva from top long time and I need to be strong, I feeling pain, and after long pain I can get orgasm. On the end of first week after surgery was a lot dehiscence and surgeon's PA said, That not so horrible, but I was shocked. I regret it. I still want to believe everything will improve. But to be honest, I already thinking sometimes sex change surgery was a mistake.
Sorry you are having a hard time with your recovery. But please understand you are not alone. Some of us have a lot of pain and multiple complications. I'm 2.5 years post-SRS and still in pain with a non-functional vagina. At 6 months, I felt pretty down, similar to how you feel. And it is not a nice place to be in. What has helped me is a load of therapy for my mental health and finding other things in my life to replace sex. I can be intimate with my partner without touching or involving my groin, and by making her happy, I can feel some of it as well. It's not great, but it's better than nothing. And TBH, as long as she is happy, then that's all that matters to me now. I really don't want to lose her. At one point, I was in tears with anger and frustration every time I tried to climax, both with my partner and without her. Now I just do the minimal amount of cleaning it, and other than that, don't touch it at all. If she goes anywhere near it, I just freeze up no matter how gentle she is. It's a mixture of chronic pain, PTSD, and anxiety for me that's not got any better. Tried sex counseling, but she didn't know enough about SRS and the issues that I was having, and TBH, I wasn't going to pay for her time so I could teach her about it. I'm living my life now, despite having a non-functional groin that looks horrible. I'm sending all the good vibes to try and help with your healing. Good luck. If you want to chat or vent, feel free to DM me, but I am in Europe, so the times may be difficult. Saying that it's 4 a.m. here and I can't sleep, so...
Thank you for your response. It's very saddening to know that so much time post-op you're still suffering this type of consequences. I feel like there isn't enough coverage of the negative outcomes. Unfortunately, your experience as well as mine go on to prove things can go wrong in some cases, and our expectations can be utterly disappointed. I'm relieved to know that you were strong enough to overcome, or at least learn how to live with, these issues. Thank you for sharing, and thanks for your nice thoughts. X.
No problem. Serious painkillers are working, including MST and pregabalin. It's still there, though, and I'm constantly worried about the GP just stopping them and being in agony again. It's an easy fix for a surgeon, but they took forever to even admit I have an issue. Now they have admitted it and said they would apply for funding, but 4 months later, and they still haven't done it. It's a disgrace. Mirtazapine for the PTSD and anxiety. It's not ideal. And I wake up with a dry mouth and headache pretty much every day, no matter how much water I drink. It's better than the alternative of wishing I was dead on a daily basis, though.
I did sex reassignment surgery about 1.5 years ago, and I deeply regret it. Only complications. Doctors, treatments that don't work, constant pain. Life has become hell, and honestly, I am very close to completely giving up.
The complication rate is around 15%. That's something to keep in mind for all y'all wearing rose-tinted shades. I'm over 2 years post-op, and I'm still having nerve issues. Plus, my clit still hurts when I rub it. I'm still dilating several times a week. My libido is nil. Might be life stress. I've stopped producing lubrication. I don't regret it, weirdly enough, but it sure is inconvenient.
Honestly speaking, I can only blame him partly when I see so many good results around, and so many of my friends went with him and got very good outcomes too. If I have to be completely fair, the impression I got was that when the surgery turns out well, it turns out really well, but when complications start to arise, they seem to be dismissive and put a lot of blame on the patient, which at that price isn't what you'd expect. Revision surgery was also at my expenses, even though the complications were noticed immediately after unpacking while I was still at the hospital. I feel like other surgeons have more consistently good results. With my surgeon, it felt like one had to somewhat be lucky. Everyone is their own case, and I can't be sure this isn't just down to how I am built, unfortunately there's no way of knowing for sure. I don't think that I could have done anything differently since I followed all their instructions very scrupulously. What I mean to say with partly is that surgeries take place on living individuals, which are all different from one another, and so I have no way of knowing if what I have now is due to bad surgery or bad anatomy, or a combination of the two, even though I was perfectly normally shaped and had no dysfunction prior. I can say, though, that their professionalism was at least lacking, and I felt like they were always trying to nickel and dime me. I can't count the amount of times that they came in the room with their little credit card machine, asking me to pay for all types of basic things that they considered to be extras, e.g., even painkillers after I'd experienced adverse effects to the ones they'd given me before. The latter weren't reimbursed anyway, even though they'd been paid for in advance and unused. Needless to say, I also had to pay for the revision needed for the rather large and unsightly dehiscence, which was noticed right after unpacking. That is to say, I had never moved out of the bed and couldn't have physically done anything to actively cause it. Mind you, I am a healthy young patient with a low BMI, I'm not a smoker, and I have no major chronic condition or significant illness. Of us 3 girls admitted at the same time for SRS, we all required revision during hospitalization and had to pay for it. Other than that dehiscence, I have had issues with granulation and tightness as described in the original post, despite dilating carefully, and I also struggle with a difficult and very, very messy urination. My urethra has been poorly reshaped and located in a very low, non-physiologically position, according to my urologist and SRS specialist in my country. Anyway, my other friends, and even the girls I was referring to above, who have all had surgery with him, haven't had complaints about tightness or persisting pain, so it's not the same for everyone. It's compulsory to stay in their hospital now. They're not allowing the option for the outside hotel anymore. They now have a dedicated floor for patients to stay for the required amount of time after SRS. I spent a month in total inside the hospital. I think all in all I had to spend around $2,000 to $3,000 in unexpected and unforeseen expenses. Revision alone was priced around $600, allegedly to cover the OR supplies costs. I honestly don't know how those costs could be incurred since it was performed under local anesthesia without the presence of an anesthetist, but that's what it was. It's compulsory to stay in their hospital now. They're not allowing the option for the outside hotel anymore. They now have a dedicated floor for patients to stay for the required amount of time after SRS. I spent a month in total inside the hospital. I think all in all I had to spend around $2,000 to $3,000 in unexpected and unforeseen expenses. Revision alone was priced around $600, allegedly to cover the operating room. Supplies costs. I honestly don't know how those costs could be incurred, since it was performed under local anesthesia, without the presence of an anesthesiologist, but that's what it was.
Different reasons for me. Turns out I didn't want a vagina, and now I'm in the process of scheduling consults for phalloplasty now. What I can relate to is intimacy suddenly becoming daunting and very difficult. I was able to eventually find ways to do things in a way that I like with a partner, but on my own it's pretty bleak. I'm not at all motivated to use my body as is. The similarities stop there, though. I'm sure this has been on your mind, but could you do a revision still? I guess maybe a total redo would be wording it better. If you got PI, there's colon as an option.
I'm in the same situation as you, and I don't recommend sex reassignment surgery to anyone.
Just a reminder, this video simply voices over the Reddit post and some of the responses and is not meant to be used as medical advice. If you believe you have been harmed by medical transition or want to help those who have been harmed, you can check out some links in the description of this channel. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Please, don't forget to subscribe, share, and like to raise awareness and to help me out.
Drowning insanity, I'm suffocating. I see you there. drowning in a sea of madness, despair. You smile. Almost all that. You watch me. You are me. I'm drowning, almost out of air, without a care. I scream. You listen.